I guess we've gotten to the point where we've got to be convinced. I mean, I want to make contact with an ET just as much as the next guy, but I don't want to get duped either.
Yeah.
It's pretty embarrassing, especially when we first started and we post stuff online, and the more experienced people debunk it all and shoot you right down. The truth is 95%, and that figure could be a little higher or a little lower, but 95% of what people report is explainable, either natural phenomenon or man-made stuff that's been put up there. But we're okay with that. We're trying to zero in on that 5%.
We got a power show for you tonight. We welcome back a good friend of this show, Rob Freeman. The excitement is thriving with the producing of a new international factual documentary series, Making Contact, Be Inspired, and Rob Freeman, UFO World Explorer. Gentlemen, we are so proud to have both of you good Canadian kids on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It is an all-Canada show here, and you know what? I'm just going to pat myself on the back for this because, I know our American listeners are going to be like, really? Shut up with the Maple Leaf, but that's okay. Gentlemen, how are you?
Thanks for having us on there, Dave. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to have both of you guys on as well. You guys are the type of people who are still doing the yeoman's work of ufology. I consider both of you guys to be true ufologists. You're getting out in the field, you're getting the film, you're getting the know-how of what to look for and when in the sky. And we're going to get heavy into that tonight. But Rob, I want to start with you because I had the pleasure of meeting you a couple of years ago in Toronto at the Alien Cosmic Expo and was just so impressed with your candor and your demeanor and professionalism when it comes to this topic. And there isn't a lot of that in the field of ufology. How have you been able to separate your work from the entire field? Because you're a guy who just goes out there and gets the job done.
Well, Dave, really, there's just so much stuff on the internet and YouTube. It's like, how do you know what to believe? So the bottom line, Marcus and I are out there trying to make contact and actually having these experiences together. And that's the only thing we can really believe. There's just so many stories, so many dramas, Hollywood dramas. There's so much stuff. Everybody wants to be in the limelight, and we're not even trying to be in the limelight. We just want to get out there on expeditions, meet people who are experiencers, go out in the field with them. And you know what? More often than not, we have some pretty cool things happen out there.
Over the last 7 years, I felt my role has been that of storyteller, telling the story. Like Rob is one of my best friends. So to talk to him and to know him for the last, I guess it'd be 12 years, and to spend the last 7 years doing this, it's just become increasingly more important to tell the story. And of course, going back to the Spielberg film, I just got that image, of two boys on the rooftop of a house, shimmying up the TV antenna and being on the roof with their little makeshift sky watching kit, a walkie-talkie, compass, pad of paper. And that just hit me. I loved it. I just couldn't shake that image for 6 months. I did. I got very excited. And what I learned was that there were pockets of people all over the world that had experienced at this level, like Facebook, right? You're suddenly in these chat groups, Australia and Peru and throughout the US and throughout the European countries. And I'm getting these emails, I'm getting these messages from people saying, we're out on the beach doing this. We're here, we're in the jungles, we're on the beaches of Peru. Like, this is where we're doing it. And that's what really drew me. And it's what continues to draw me to what we're doing. The experiences are amazing. The travel is amazing. And there's just definitely a story to tell.
Why do either one of you believe in this subject? Now, Rob, I know you've had lifelong experiences, but there's still this idealism that we have to believe in this and believe what we're going. So, Rob, let's start with you. Why do you believe that they are here?
Yeah, I guess, Dave, it's more than belief. Belief is kind of like religion. You go out on faith. It's knowing. And that's a step beyond belief. Like when you've experienced the kind of things that ourselves and others have experienced, it takes you beyond belief and into knowing. And once once you've had these experiences, and especially, you know, we have them together. We don't like to go out on our own because, your mind can play tricks with you. If you go out on alone and you see things, it's like, did I really see that? We always go together and bring others with us because after the fact, you can talk about it. And it's like, did I really see that? Yes, you did. And so did I. You can discuss it. It makes it more real and solid. But it's knowing. You don't have to go out on faith and believe once you experience some of this stuff. It becomes knowing.
Let me just start off by I say welcome to the show. This is Strange Recon. We focus mostly on UFOs, but all the avenues in the paranormal topic that seem to be intimately linked to ufology when it comes to like the contact modalities and different ways to make contact and alleged ways. And so I'm really glad you guys are here to add some clarity to the subject of CE5 and what you guys do.
Well, thanks. And thanks for having us on. Appreciate that, Jeff.
Yeah, it's we were just speaking a minute ago about being on the boat and stuff, and I tell people this all the time. I've never had a successful CE5 experience. Well, maybe I have. I don't know. You have to tell me. It's coincidental, but I've spent 30 years almost doing it. You know what I mean? Like that wishful, intention-driven thoughts into the sky, like trying to make some sort of meaningful contact with something that I truly believe is out there from my experiences, but not really having any success. What would you say to a guy like me before we get into your stories? What would you say to a guy like me that wants to get out there and have successful CE5?
Well, my first thing would be come with us.
Right.
And we've had so much stuff, but honestly, just go out there with people who also have that passion and who are open-minded and just put it out there, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah.
some people believe in strict protocols, but honestly, we've tried all the different things, and it's really just comes down to it intention and keeping an open mind and an open heart. And gosh, it's going to happen for you.
Hey everybody, welcome to Engaging the Phenomenon. And today we have two special guests, Rob Freeman and Mark McNabb from Making Contact. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks very much, James.
Making Contact is so much bigger than CE5, although CE5 is a great and useful term to kind of communicate an idea like, okay, CE5, we understand that. But it's a very useful tool, but I think what people need to understand, and I think what you guys are going to kind of deliver here and show people is that making contact is much greater than just say CE5, as in the CE5 initiative and the CE5 protocols. So either Rob or Mark, if you want to kind of address any of what I just said and the idea of how making contact is something greater necessarily than just the terminology of CE5.
Yeah, and I will say that, really it's just all about intention, James. The formal CE5 protocol is a way that maybe people who aren't initiated can get started into it. But the bottom line is you don't have to go through all those protocols exactly the way it's written. You really just need to relax, have an intention, have everybody in the group with the same intention, and just expect to have an encounter. I mean, that's what I did as a kid at 12 years old. All I really did was we expected that we were going to be able to go on the roof and see something. And we went open-minded and, as Mark said, innocent young boys, and it happened. So people don't really have to get caught up into that whole, you've got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, because you actually start going down that road and it kind of binds you up in a way. People say, well, we're not doing it perfectly. And they can get all hyper, and it's like, even get upset at some of the other participants that they're not following the prayer or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's really not like that. It's more about relaxing and set your intention that you'd like to make contact with, benevolent otherworldly beings, and just relax and let it happen.
You still stick to the facts. I mean, we've really had some experiences where we've gotten really super excited about them, and then we've completely debunked them. We went, no, no, look, we took it apart. Rob is amazing at that. That is his total, complete, amazing skill set, is to take that all apart. And I don't think that happens as much in the ufology world. You see a light, or you see something appear in the sky, but when you spend, I don't know, what are we at, Rob? 3,000 to 5,000 hours of sky watching and being in the field and talking to people, you take apart your own stuff. And I think that, I don't know if this is completely answering your question, Dave, but I think that I think it's important. I know it's important. You have to do that. You have to scrutinize your own work. You have to research. You have to apply the science. And of course you have an emotional investment, but you also understand you have a responsibility, and that responsibility means really bringing everybody the facts and bringing people the information.
And the truth is, 95% plus or minus of everything that's posted is explainable. We're not interested in that. We're interested in that, the cream of the crop, that 5%. Now, as Mark said, we've spent thousands of hours in the field, and it is more rare to get really legitimate stuff. But when you look at YouTube, you'd think that people are seeing UFOs by the minute out there. The truth is, most of it's, it's optics in the camera, or it's something explainable. And people take big offense that they think that I don't believe. Well, of course I believe, but I want to get to the truth. And it gets under my skin when I see people pushing off stuff that I know, with their thousands of hours out in the field, I know is a camera aberration, or it's an effect of the camera. I mean, we could do a whole show on this.
All right, gentlemen, what makes a UFO hotspot? Rob, let's start with you.
Well, we have found it's two things. There's the actual geography, and there's the person. And, in terms of where we're going to go, we kind of look at the product, or the sum of the two. And if you can go to a spot that's had known sightings, plus you go with somebody who is seeing things, and there's a good chance you're going to have an experience. It seems to be a product or a sum of the two things together. It's not just one, it's not just the other. It seems to be both combined. That's what we found.
Yeah, I would add into that too, just to add to what Rob said. It's like some hotspots have like a history of it, and again, like with the traits of geography and people, we've been to some parts of the world, like Peru, where it's like, literally dating to the start of civilization. So you're going to very remote areas, and very off grid, very off road, which seems to be conducive as well. We just came back from Death Valley, and we had some interesting experiences in both. Actually, we were in Munns Park, Arizona, and then we crossed over to Death Valley. And again, we like to, not only is it a hotspot area, and that there've been a lot of different experiences and sightings, but it's very secluded, like very removed from the populace and things like that. So if you take all those factors, yeah, you're ratcheting up your chances.
A lot of people who are doing CE5, they just, live in a town, and they might just go outside their town, or even go to a park inside their own town. So in a sense, they haven't left everything behind. When we gear up for an expedition, we literally leave everything behind, and we show up, in a destination completely open-minded, and in that frame of reference of expecting to make contact. And, I live out in the country right now and I never get contact here. And I often think it's because I'm, involved in my everyday things here. And people are surprised. You live out in the country, you've got a great sky watching spot overlooking the valley, but I never see anything. There seems to be something in the fact that when you go to a different location and you are far removed from all your everyday stuff, you've got an open mind and things begin to happen.
One of the big things I think is the internal shift. Again, a lot of people might be attracted to CE5 or contact initially because they're curious, right? They're saying, number one, is the UFO phenomenon real? Are these other, entities in the universe? And number two, if there are, does this kind of thing work where you can actually invite an encounter? And obviously, if somebody gives it a serious enough try, where with very serious and sincere effort, they're going to have that experience. And when that occurs, it's a transformational experience. There's no going back at that point. When you've had one of those encounters where there's no question in your mind that you just had an interaction with some other form of intelligence, and that creates a huge internal shift. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about this kind of work. If you were going to tell somebody who's asking, hey, I just want to go out and make contact, what would you advise them to do for the highest chance of success?
Well, I would say get with other like-minded people. Don't go out by yourself. Get with another person only for the fact that when you have something special occur, it's somebody you now have a memory with that you can talk about it in the future. For that reason, and also it helps to keep you sane.
Yeah.
If you have something happen and you're by yourself, your mind can play big time tricks with you. And then not only that, nobody else is going to believe you. And I would say for people going out, just set your intention that you want to make contact, that you want to only make contact with benevolent beings. The idea is to remain safe here. And some people even imagine that they're covered in white light as a protection. Mm-hmm. I think that's something just for your own self, your own being.
Yeah.
Really, that's what you do. And just, get yourself knowledgeable also. We have gone through quite an evolution, Mark and myself, over what different things in the sky are. Okay, now, one of the big things that people confuse, James, are these rotating rocket bodies. Okay, and you'll hear many people saying about power-ups. Okay, now, we've been all over the world. I've got, 9 or 10 cameras on there recording all night long. I've got thousands of hours of video of the same things over and over and over again. I've done research, and I can tell you that while it's pretty exciting to see a light all of a sudden come on and then go out, and then, 5 seconds later, it's moved over and it does the same thing, 99%, not 100, 99%, it's a rotating piece of space junk, a rocket body. There's apps out there which detail thousands of pieces of junk. And what happens is, especially, within the 2 or 3 hours after sunset, these rocket bodies are all still up there from when they launched these satellites. They're slowly turning. It's acting as a mirror, and the sun is still visible at that altitude. It's already dark on the Earth, but the sun is still visible up there, and this rocket body is slowly turning, and a shiny side reflects back the light. Okay, so there's a power up. So it comes on, and as it continues to turn, it doesn't then reflect the light on the other side, so it goes out. Here's how you can tell. Videotape it, and then when you play it back, see how many frames are between each flash. Now, if it's exactly the same number, chances are it's one of these rocket bodies rotating. Okay, so that's the biggest one that is the biggest fooler out there. It fools everybody, especially people that are getting into the observation arena and they're new and they're convinced that they just saw an ET.
Rob, can you go more in depth on your open your heart, raise your vibration? What specifically does this mean? What are the metrics, if any?
Yeah, I would say, you know, in our day-to-day activity, we're always so busy. We're in our left brain, intellectual, ego-based, logical, intelligent mind. I think, you know, when you want to connect, you've really got to release all that and just get into your right brain, get into that sensing side and just relax. Like just, I mean, as far as metrics go, you know, if you do a meditation, there's any number of things you can do. It's your intent. It doesn't have to be a regimented CE5 program. All you've got to do is just go out there with the intent, get yourself relaxed, do any kind of a meditation. I mean, go on YouTube, you can find, you know, 1,000 of them with beautiful music, people speaking, and just get yourself totally relaxed. Just get away from your day-to-day human doing and switch into being a human being. Literally just be. Just, you know, relax yourself. There's so many videos out there that can help you do that. You know, do any of them or all of them or none of them. Just relax yourself and just be in the moment with what's happening around you. And chances are you're going to experience something. I mean, that's what we did. We don't follow any set formula. We go with what we feel in the moment, when we feel in the moment. And all I can say is just get yourself relaxed. Look, when I was a kid of 12 years old and I just went on the roof of the house, the intention was to actually see something. And we did, my friend and I. You know, we had an open mind, we had an open heart. We believed that we were going to see something, and we did. So any more than that, I don't know how I can describe it. Just, you know, don't get wrapped up in the dogma. Don't feel that you have to do this, you have to do that. Just go up with the intention. Just get yourself relaxed through whatever works for you.
But how come some people can get that communication and others can try that exact same plan and get nothing?
I would say, Dave, I mean, this is just my one thought of it is maybe this is just my own feeling on it, but it's kind of like a little bit like a martial art, you know, like you're exercising your mind, you're exercising your heart, you know, you have to be committed to it though at some level. I don't think it's as easy or as at least as simplistic as just going out and just doing it for like 10 minutes and saying, well, okay, I stilled my mind for 10 minutes, you know, I opened my heart for 10 minutes. Like, you know, I think that it's kind of like a martial art in the sense that you have to have some sort of emotional discipline, you know, some sort of spiritual discipline. You know, Rob and I, you know, we've had spatterings of meditative experiences over the last 7 years. And you keep trying to further that and kind of take it to the next level. But I think you definitely have to have the intention, like Rob mentioned. And with that intention comes that commitment to it. So, and I think if you believe or know that you have a telepathic, that maybe there's a telepathic link between you and extraterrestrials, they know that you want to experience more. They know that you want to connect with them. That's, you know, if you really believe that and you really want to have that experience, it comes from that further understanding that they know you're committed and they know that you're putting in the time.
That's right. That's the key word, is the time. Like we'll go out and we'll be out there for 4 and 5 hours at a time. And maybe there's just one experience that happens in the whole evening, and it happens in the 11th hour, in the 59th minute, just before you're ready to wrap up and go. We've had that happen so many times.
So many.
And that's the truth. But is it mental? Is it from the soul?
I think it's from the heart.
It's definitely the heart.
From the heart and the soul, for sure.
Like,
You've got to be sincere. You got to be sincere about doing this. And if you are sincere and you really feel it, it will happen. Maybe not every time, but if you spend the time and go out, on different occasions, you're going to have it happen. I mean, we did, and we still do. We do spend the time and we do the meditations and we have things happen.
So I guess we've gotten to the point where we've got to be convinced. I mean, I want to make contact with an ET just as much as the next guy, but I don't want to get duped either.
Yeah.
It's pretty embarrassing, especially when we first started and we post stuff online, and the more experienced people debunk it all and shoot you right down. It's pretty embarrassing. So we've gotten to the point where we try to debunk everything we see. And we've only got a few handfuls of actual stuff that, the experts, people at MUFON, people at other places have put a big question mark to it and says, well, it's nothing that we can explain. The truth is 95%, and that figure could be a little higher or a little lower, but 95% of what people report is explainable, either natural phenomenon or man-made stuff that's been put up there. But, we're okay with that. We're trying to zero in on that 5%. And we've had glimpses of the 5% now and again. It's pretty cool when it happens.
Yeah. And, I think that's something, if you're somebody who's serious about this, it's like, it's something you just got to learn. You just got to go out there, look, do the work, look at the sky and try to figure out, be honest, self-honest to what you're looking at. And, for me, generally, I swear, and this is how I think in a way you can get like a confirmation of something genuine. As soon as I question in my mind, wait, is this something, or is this like a genuine phenomena? It will usually do something where, okay, you're like, okay, it responds to you, and it will let you know that it is truly the phenomenon, another intelligence, because it's not there to waste your time or to make you guess. It's generally going to let you know. So for me, a lot of times, as the second the question enters my mind, and it is something genuine, it will usually demonstrate undoubtedly, like, stop and then change direction, something along those lines. We're like, okay, I get I get the point. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. So you got to go out there in the field, and a lot of times you'll see something and you get excited, but then after you do some research and try to find out, you'll learn what that is, and that that could take a few years even, of going out regularly, where you get to the point where you have a very refined perspective. But it's so fun.
What we're documenting is 100% authentic. Nothing is staged, nothing is set up, nothing is pretend. It's all what we're experiencing. And we felt, and we're getting a lot of things happening. I mean, we're getting experiences happening, and we felt that if we venture off that course, if we start misrepresenting ourselves or misrepresenting whoever they are, whether it's ETs or whatever it is, we honestly felt that we will get cut off, Jeff. In other words, we're not going to get experiences anymore. And, they're not going to come out and tell us. It's going to be like, you got to read between the lines. You're not getting anything happening anymore because you guys have ventured off path. And that's it. We're going to go on to somebody else now who maybe will be authentic in what this is all about.
I actually really, I don't know, obviously I don't know one way or another, but I fall right in line with that for a few different reasons. I kind of think the phenomenon may detach itself in certain ways from people. For me, it was, I honestly feel like my number of encounters, or whatever you want to call it, dropped off dramatically the moment I got back from war. Like I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I talked about it on Grant's show. I've talked about it before. Hey, like I'm highly sensitive to noticing stuff, and like I noticed a steep drop off. And one of the things I say in the show all the time, is right there on our YouTube page and all over every place you can find our podcast, is embellishment is the death of legitimacy. Mm-hmm. The moment you start to see people taking liberties, and there's a lot of controversial people in ufology today that I know specifically use like the unscripted TV world as an excuse for misleading people and overreacting. And oftentimes, if you know acting enough, you can see it. And these people, you look at some of these shows on TV right now about the subject, and you're like, there's no way that guy holding that spectrometer is acting scared of something in the midday sky flying around. It's not, and it drives you crazy. But yeah, I'm glad to see that you guys are walking that path of integrity, because we honestly need it so much. There's a lot of snake oil being thrown around, and there's a lot of claims being made, and you have to accept everything. That's kind of that logic of you have to accept everything everyone says, because you don't want to be the person that's trying to be the debunker or anything like that. And I really think that you guys are going at it the right way with that.
Ufology over the last 4 years has become a very political game, and we'll continue that conversation a little bit later in the show. But how it affects you guys is, you guys, like I said earlier, are you old school ufologists doing the down and dirty work to try and get those credible videos of these incredible craft in the sky wherever they are coming from. Okay, but I'm curious for you guys, is there still a place for what you guys are doing, considering that all of the attention has really been turned to what the government, especially the United States, knows about UFOs, and trying to get them to open up about what they know of the phenomena? Is there room for old school ufology still?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, we ourselves have interviewed, especially with the pandemic and not being able to get out there as much. So we actually started interviewing various different people ourselves, including Grant Cameron and Richard Dolan and so on. And we kind of asked the same question to them. And their response was, we love the fact that you guys are out there in the field. Because a lot of people that do interviews, they spend all their time, behind a desk in front of a camera. They don't get out there. So they really want us to get out there, mix with the people, get the current stories, get the current happenings that are happening right now. There's so much history, and that's great. Everybody can talk about that. But it's kind of like, what is happening right now, guys? And yes, there's the stuff that's been released, but a lot of that's old. We're trying our best to capture things that are happening right now, Dave. So it is meaningful. It is useful. Um, I wouldn't have it any other way. I want to get out there and try to capture what's happening right now. To be relevant. There's lots of information about the past, but people really have an appetite for knowing what is happening right now out there.
Well, and that's the big thing about it, guys, is the relevancy of everything. Because, it's easy to sit outside and look for things in the skies. But the one thing I like about what you guys are doing is you're releasing it. You're not holding on to it. You're not hoarding that information, which we see a lot of, especially in the paranormal encrypted world. Or you're not making CGI videos on popular YouTube channels or anything like that. I'm thinking one in particular where the guy comes and goes. But I mean, you keep it going, you keep it moving, and you've got the technology to back you behind it. I mean, as we got about 45 seconds here, Rob, how important is it to keep that momentum going? Because if you're summoning in these craft, there's a lot more going on than just filming UFOs.
Well, yeah. And we learned very early in the game, whatever you get out there. Don't hold on to it, because there's a possibility if you keep it secret, you're going to get a visit from somebody who's going to ask you to keep it secret and not release it when you want to release it. We've got personal conversations with people that have had visits who've been told they're not allowed to release stuff. So immediately when we have something, we release it. Well, all I know is that, from our point of view, we're continue to get out there. We try to get out there about 6 to 9 times per year on expeditions. And anywhere there's a hotspot, anywhere there's people that are seeing things like a flap, we've got the equipment ready to go. We can be gone the same day or the next morning if there's something that's super hot happening or legitimate or whatever. We're as interested in this as every other ufologist, and we want to document it. And if we can document it and then share it to the rest of Canada, to the rest of North America, to the rest of the world, we will. We're not going to keep anything hidden. Never.
So the fact that there is sheer ignorance coming from the government officials on this, and the code of silence that is there, is unfair to not only the Canadian population, but to the world that wants to learn more about this subject.
Well, I couldn't agree more.
We feel a responsibility, Dave, for sure. I mean, we've kind of, our role has morphed a little bit in terms of feeling that there's a, employing some kind of a journalistic, kind of angle to what we're even doing. We come in unbiased, we come in authentic, we tell the story the way it is, we interview people in a very unbiased way, integrated into our experiences. I mean, I'm not a journalist, but you do feel that responsibility to tell the story and not keep it in some archive that people can't access.
And
It's true.
And I can tell you that, Mark and I have already discussed, we want to write a book. People have asked, what are your experience published anywhere? Well, we've talked about starting a book next summer. Now, neither one of us are writers, but that doesn't stop you from writing a book. You can hire people that can write for you. They interview you and they distill it down, and then you do help in the editing and going over it. So, the amount of experiences we've had over the last 7 years, they're smattered through our videos, but there's a lot of people that would like to sit down with a book. Now, perhaps, that book would help also in opening things up north of the border here. I mean, there's not that many books that have been written by Canadians. There's a few. So we'll definitely do what we can to push this whole idea of disclosure and getting things out on the table. Personally, I don't think that disclosure is going to happen in an all-in-one event. I think it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's going to be slowly, like they're releasing things little by little, like a tap dripping. And I think that they're going to get the public used to all of this little by little. That will, they're never going to announce that ETs are here, but there'll be all these little articles that keep coming out. And before you know it, everybody's desensitized to the whole subject and everybody knows. I just can't see it making a big announcement on any one day over this. They're going to keep leaking stuff. And hopefully from, north of the border, Mark and I, with all the experiences we have and all the people we're involved with, we can help be part of this.